Hey there, welcome back. Today we're tackling something pretty relevant, I think. Business transformation. But we're not talking about the surface level stuff here. We're going deep on the fundamentals. You know, the things that make or break a company's ability to really change.
You got it. It's not about, those flashy announcements.
Yeah.
Real transformation. That's about the core building blocks, the things that often get overlooked.
Right. And to guide us today, we have Anthony Middlemark's article, The Transformation Triad. It's packed with insights. And he introduces this concept called the MAC score. Have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah, the MAC score. It's a brilliant framework, really. It helps us analyze a company's potential for change by looking at three things: mindset, articulation, and capability.
Okay, let's break that down. Mindset.
Yeah.
Middlemark argues that it's way more than just company culture. It's like the soul of the organization. He gets into 10 specific elements, actually. But what stood out to me was the link between leadership style and profitability.
Yeah, it's a fascinating connection, isn't it? Middlemark argues that a transparent leadership style, it actually builds trust, which then allows companies to respond to the market faster. Faster responses often mean more profits.
Exactly. It makes you think. How much does leadership style impact your workplace? Then there's the impact of clear communication on something as tangible as operational waste. Who knew?
Right. Middlemark's point is that when information flows efficiently, everybody's on the same page. Fewer misunderstandings, less duplicated effort, ultimately less waste. It's about streamlining through clarity.
And then he brings up learning and development as a secret weapon for market advantage.
Yeah.
Makes sense though, right? If your team is constantly upskilling, you're likely delivering better service, happier customers, and as a result, more profit.
Yeah, it all comes back to that foundation of mindset. Without it, even the best strategists, the most skilled teams, they'll struggle. You can't force a new mindset through, say, a company memo. It just doesn't work.
So true. It makes me think about companies that try to slap on a culture of innovation overnight.
Yeah.
It feels so inauthentic.
Absolutely. Genuine cultural development, it takes time, nurturing consistent reinforcement. You have to create an environment where those desired behaviors, they're encouraged organically.
Okay, so mindset, that's the foundation. But even with the perfect mindset, you need to communicate the strategy clearly. That's where articulation comes in, right?
Precisely. Middlemark talks about tailoring your message to each stakeholder group, from the board all the way to the front lines. It makes sure that everyone understands their role, but also why the change is happening and how it affects them personally.
I love how he highlights the importance of celebrating early wins. He even calls them value acceleration mechanisms, which sounds super fancy, but really it's about demonstrating tangible progress to keep everyone motivated and bought in.
It's not about superficial PR. It's about showcasing real achievements, even small ones, just to build momentum and keep the transformation moving forward.
He actually suggests creating a quick wins program with 30-day and 90-day victories. It's smart because it keeps the energy up and shows that things are actually happening.
Think about your own organization, though. How does communication usually flow? Do those strategic messages actually make it down to every level? And are there feedback loops so people on the ground can share their insights?
That feedback loop is crucial, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
like Middlemark says, the ability to adapt and adjust course. That's just as important as having a solid plan to begin with.
He has a whole section on adaptation mechanisms and feedback loops. It's fascinating how he ties it back to that core idea that even with the best laid plans, you need to be able to respond to real-world feedback and make adjustments along the way.
Which makes total sense,
Yeah.
especially in today's constantly changing business landscape.
Yeah.
Being able to adapt quickly is essential for survival, let alone success.
Exactly. It's not a one-time thing either. Building in those feedback mechanisms and having a system for adaptation, it has to be an ongoing process. You need to be constantly listening and responding.
Okay, so we've got the mindset as our foundation, clear articulation to keep everyone aligned. But then we get to the actual execution,
Yeah.
which is where capability comes in.
It's definitely about having the right people and skills. But Middlemark brings up that it's also about the systems and processes, the things that allow those skills to really shine, you know?
Makes me think of that saying, a bad workman blames his tools. What if it's not the workman, but the system that's holding everyone back? Middlemark talks about the importance of having the right operating model right.
Yes. He argues that the traditional top-down hierarchy, it can actually stifle innovation, and that more flexible team-based models, they're better suited for today's business environment, where agility is key.
He also brings up something I think a lot of companies struggle with, recognizing when your core competencies become obsolete. What worked in the past might not cut it in the future. How do you see companies navigating that?
It's a challenge for sure.
Yeah.
Middlemark emphasizes the need to constantly evaluate your capabilities and invest in new ones to stay ahead of the curve. It's like learning a new language or skill. You have to put in the work to keep up.
Then there's the less glamorous side of capability. Maintaining those existing systems, it's so easy to chase shiny new tech. But if your core systems crumble, the whole operation can fall apart.
That's where the concept of technical debt comes in. Neglecting those essential systems can actually end up costing you more in the long run. It's like ignoring a small leak in your roof. It might seem minor at first, but eventually it can lead to major damage.
So how do we approach integrating new technology strategically then? It's easy to get swept up in the hype, but Middlemark cautions against just blindly chasing trends.
He stresses the need to look at any new technology within the context of your overall business strategy and goals. Ask yourself, will this tech actually boost our capabilities? Will it help us achieve what we're aiming for? Or is it just a distraction?
This is where his dynamic technical capability framework comes in. It sounds kind of intense, but he has some cool ideas, like developing an internal innovation radar. What exactly does that mean?
Imagine having a system that's constantly scanning the horizon for emerging trends. New tech even shifts in customer needs. It's about spotting opportunities and potential threats before they even fully emerge.
That's brilliant. It's like having a heads-up display for your business.
Yeah.
He also mentions the need for a rapid experimentation framework.
Yeah, the idea there is to test new ideas quickly and efficiently without getting bogged down in bureaucracy. The faster you can experiment and learn, the faster you can adapt and evolve.
It makes me think of startups, the ones that seem to pivot and iterate at lightning speed. They're not afraid to fail fast and learn from their mistakes. So we've covered mindset, articulation, and capability individually. But what really makes Middlemark's framework so powerful is how these three elements work together. It's not enough to just focus on one, is it?
Exactly. Real transformation happens when all three are working in sync, focusing on just one element. That's like trying to build a house on a single pillar. It's just not going to be stable.
I like the analogy of a three-legged stool. If one leg is weak, the whole thing collapses. Each element needs to be strong to support the others. What are some examples of how this interplay actually plays out?
Well, imagine a company where the culture embraces innovation. That's mindset. They're likely to communicate a clear vision for the future, articulation, and invest in developing the necessary capabilities to get there, capability. Those capabilities then lead to tangible results, which reinforce the culture of innovation, creating a cycle of continuous improvement.
So it's like a self-fueling engine. One element strengthens the next, and it just keeps building momentum. What happens when a company actually masters this interplay of mindset, articulation, and capability?
They enter a state of continuous evolution. They become agile, adaptable, and able to respond effectively to any challenge, while seizing new opportunities as they arise. It's like they've developed an internal compass that guides them through constant change.
That's incredible. It's like they've cracked the code of thriving in today's unpredictable world. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. To recap, we deep dived into the MAG score, a framework for analyzing what truly drives successful business transformation. We broke down each element: mindset, articulation, and capability.
And most importantly, we've explored how those elements interact and influence each other. By understanding this interplay, you can gain a deeper understanding of why some companies succeed in transforming themselves while others struggle.
And if you're listening, thinking about your organization, maybe ask yourself, where are our strengths and weaknesses when it comes to mindset, articulation, and capability? Are we set up for continuous evolution?
Makes you think, doesn't it?
Especially if you're in the middle of a transformation project, or even just trying to understand why change is so hard. This framework, it gives you a whole new way to look at things.
Yeah, it's a powerful tool. And it's not about getting some perfect score in each category. It's about recognizing how connected mindset, articulation, and capability are, and then finding ways to strengthen those connections.
Middlemark actually closes his article with something that really stuck with me. He says that in a world where everything's changing so fast, this ability to manage mindset, articulation, and capability, it might be the most crucial skill a company can develop.
He calls it a meta capability. Sounds kind of intimidating. But the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. If you can master that interplay, you're basically building an organization that can adapt and evolve constantly.
Like you're creating a living, breathing organism that can respond to its environment and thrive no matter what happens.
Exactly. And that brings us to a question for you. This ability to constantly adapt and evolve, to manage that interplay of mindset, articulation, and capability, Is that the ultimate key to not just surviving, but thriving in this era of constant change?
It's a question worth thinking about for sure. It goes beyond just one company. What about entire industries, societies? What if they embrace this idea of continuous evolution?
It's exciting to think about. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this too. What resonated with you from Middlemark's work? Have you seen these principles at play in your organization? Join the conversation on our social media channels. Share your insights, your questions. This is a discussion worth having.
And that's it for today's deep dive into business transformation and the MS score. We hope you found it valuable. We look forward to continue this conversation with you next time. Until then.